And then I'm going to start by sharing my screen with you all. And I'm going to start by looking at this hand from last Thursday. I looked at this in some detail, and it was generally played in 2 or 3 hearts. If you have a look at the bidding on this one, West is dealer, and West might open 2 hearts, although it's a pretty weak 2, if you know what I mean. It's only 5 points, so it's pretty marginal. You might open 2 hearts, and possibly your partner with 13 points might raise you to 3 hearts. That's not inviting game, that's just keeping the opponents out. And you might end up in 2 or 3 hearts. The other way it might go is if you pass, then your partner East with 13 points will open 1 no trump, and then you should end up in 2 hearts either way, either by bidding it directly or by transferring it if that's what you play. And in fact, if we have a look at how this went, you can see that nearly everyone did play it in 2 or 3 hearts. And the top score actually went to a north-south pair who bid 3 spades. And although they went down 1, that was the best score for north-south, 50, rather than letting east-west making 140 or 110. And if we have a look at the scores, you know, people who are new to duplicate bridge may not realize there's a big difference between making 8 tricks and making 9 tricks. Making 8 tricks gives you 110, making 9 tricks gives you 140. But the percentage scores are very different for that. If you make 110, you only get 4 points out of a possible 14, which is, I think, 29%. Whereas if you make that extra trick, you get 11 points, and that here works out to be 79%. So it makes a big difference making that extra trick. And I wanted to have a look at this one to see why some people did not make 9 tricks on this hand, which is what they should have been able to make. So I'm looking at this being played a few different times. I've just removed people's names because I don't want to embarrass anyone with the play, but we'll look at it being played in a variety of different ways. So here's one time it was played. Here they opened 1 no trump and signed off in 2 hearts, which is a good bidding sequence. And North was on lead here. And the first thing I noticed when I look at this hand is I would expect North to lead the Queen of Spades. It's top of a sequence, and it's nearly always an attractive lead. It's a safe lead, also it's a lead that we hope will set up tricks for your side. On this occasion, North actually led the 8 of diamonds, and that is a very strange lead. I mean, for one thing, it's the sort of 3rd card down. So if I was playing against you, I wouldn't really know what to make of that. It's a very strange lead. And in fact, it's the worst possible lead to lead a diamond on this hand. You don't know it, but if I bring up the GIB button, it will say that if you lead a diamond, declarer can actually make 2 over tricks. In other words, can make 10 tricks. Whereas if you lead anything else, declarer should be held to 9 tricks. So I would have expected a Queen of Spades lead there, not a diamond. When they do lead a diamond, it actually gives declarer a chance to make an extra trick there, because if they play low, they could win that trick with the jack, and then they've got the ace and king left. But if we just have a look at this from declarer's point of view, we're going to look at it from the point of view of the hand with a long trump suit, but taking into account all the strength in dummy. So if we look at it from West hand point of view, can you tell me how many losers you would expect? How many spade losers have you got? Do unmute yourselves, please, so I know you're there. Just one. Now, one spade loser, right? Now, hearts we're not entirely sure about. If the missing hearts divided evenly, then we could make all the heart tricks. We'd play the ace king and we wouldn't lose any hearts. As it turns out, they divide 3-1, So we are going to lose a heart. We don't know that immediately, but it turns out you've got a heart loser and a spade loser. How many diamond losers have you got?
No.
None.
None.
That's
None.
right. And how many club losers have you got?
Two.
It's two, isn't it? You've got the Queen, Jack, 10, 9, 8. So you're going to lose two clubs, one spade, and as it turns out, one heart. You'll lose 4 tricks, and you should make 9 tricks. But quite a few people didn't make 9 tricks, or gave themselves a chance to make even less than that. And we're going to look at where it went wrong. So they lead a diamond, and you might have taken the chance to play low here to make a trick with a jack. They didn't on this occasion. They took their ace, and they started off by leading a spade here. And this is the first mistake, I have to say, because although you can lead spades with a goal of perhaps ruffing spades, you are ruffing in the hand with the long trump suit, and there is no benefit to that. You will not make any more tricks, and you can cause yourself some problems. So anyway, this is what they did. They played a spade. The opponents won that, played another spade back, which you ruffed. Now Declara did quite well. They started to draw trumps. They took the king, and they took the ace. And now there's only one high trump out, the jack in this case. And nearly all the declarers did very well at this point because they did not draw it. And that's nearly always a good thing to do when there's one high trump out. Don't draw it. So they went about their other business, and they started playing clubs here. Now, it may not seem obvious to you, but when you play, if we go back to the clubs as they were originally, you have to be a little careful when you play the clubs, and you have to try to unblock. In other words, you've got the Queen Jack there, and you want to sort of get rid of those cards so that you can win tricks in the West hand. And typically, declarers made 2 mistakes on this hand. One, they failed to unblock in clubs, and one, they did unnecessary ruffing. So this is how this hand went. They let the king win. Now back comes another diamond, which they won with the king. And now, again, they're playing spades instead of plugging away at clubs. So this is what happened. They were able to ruff. Now they played their club, and South won that with the ace. And now South found the good play, which is cashing the heart. When you've got one high heart, you can draw 2 of declarers with that. And now they played a diamond. And now declarer has to ruff with their last trump. Okay. And they would be okay, except the clubs are blocked. So when they play their last club, they have to win it, unfortunately, in the east hand, and they can't get to their 10 of clubs. So they will lose that one. And they'll only make 8 tricks there. Okay. So that was one example of where it didn't go very well. Do stop me if you have any questions. I want to have a look at another one.
Tony, can I ask you a question?
Yes,
Tony,
please. Yes.
You said East bid one no trump.
Yes.
Might be. And the West wanted to go in a 2 hearts, so he bid 2 diamonds to do the transfer.
If you're playing transfers, that's how you would bid it. Yes.
But there's a hand with the north and south with spades. But do I have braveness to bid 2 hearts? Did any 2 spades? Did anybody bid 2 spades?
No one bid 2 spades, but one person bid 3 spades, and they went down. So if you go back to this, as I was showing you earlier, one person bid 3 spades, and they went down. Okay, but that was a good score for North-South, because 50 was better than letting East-West make 2 hearts or 3 hearts. Anyway, let's have a look at another one. This time, this one was played in 2 hearts. West opened 2 hearts, and that was passed. And again, let's see how that one went. Here they got the much more normal lead of the Queen of Spades. And they carried on with spades. Declarer ruffed, so it's going well here. and then they drew the king of hearts. They played another heart, and again they stopped playing hearts, but they switched to diamonds. And again, this was a pointless lead. What you want to do on this hand is to play your clubs and set up two clubs. So they took their two diamonds, then they ruffed a diamond, and all they're doing is they're shortening their own trump holding. Now they played a club, and I believe actually at this point, East can still make 9. No, okay, it doesn't matter at this point. So East plays the, and then they played another spade, and South played the ace, and Declare can ruff, but he's now down to just one trump. And now South can actually draw that last. Oh no, sorry, he's not. I'm sorry, I'm thinking ahead of myself. Now, when a club is played, South wins that, and South drew the opponent's last trump. Okay, and now they were able to cash the king of spades. They had to lead a club at the end, so Declare made their 8 tricks there, but they missed out on the 9th trick again by ruffing unnecessarily in this long hand. Okay. I will look at it one more time. This time it was played with a transfer sequence. 1 no trump, 2 diamonds, 2 hearts. So that's a good sequence. That means that South is on lead here. And South led the ace of spades. Then they switched to a diamond. They took their diamond. Then they played hearts, just like everyone else did. This part was good, drawing, playing 2 rounds and leaving the last trump out. Then they played diamonds again with the and a spade now, ruffing again with the long trumps. They again turned their attention back to clubs, but South, when they got in, now they can play a round of trumps, getting rid of 2 trumps. They play another spade, which Declarer can ruff, and Declarer is almost going to make 9 tricks here. But when the king of clubs is played here, East has to Declarer should unblock, should play the queen. Maybe you find that hard to do, but what happened was they didn't play the queen, so they played low here. They gained the lead with their last trump, but now again the clubs have become blocked. So the queen wins, and now they have to give up a spade at the end. So they only made 8 tricks again on this one. Do interrupt me if you have any questions. I've got another one to look at. This time it went 2 hearts, 3 hearts. North made the normal lead of the queen of spades, and South played the ace here. Now, there really is no reason for that. I don't know if it was a slip of the finger or whatever, but when your partner leads the queen, unless you really think that could be perhaps a singleton, you just let them win it. They've got top of a sequence, presumably. So anyway, that's what happened. They took their ace. They played another spade, which Declarer ruffed. And Declarer made similar mistakes to the others. They started off well by drawing 2 rounds of trumps, but then they started playing the diamonds, okay, so that they can ruff a diamond. Okay. They played a club now, and a spade is played back, and they have to ruff with their and now they've got just 1 trump left. They play a club here, and South gets in with the ace of clubs, and I don't know if you can see, but South can actually defeat the contract now. If we bring up the GIB button, you can see that if South plays the queen of hearts, they will draw the opponent's trumps, and then they can cash 2 more tricks. They can play a spade to their partner's 10, who's also got the queen of diamonds. So South missed out here on defeating the contract. They had a great chance to do so, but they didn't. And what they played was they played a spade back, which Declarer was able to ruff. and declarer can make a club, and that's it. But they actually made 9 tricks there, whereas really declarer should have been held to 7 tricks the way they played it if South had drawn that last trump. Okay, any comments on that? Well, let's have a look at how it should have gone, because really this hand is all about ignoring the chance to ruff in the long hand, ignoring the chance to ruff your spades, ignoring the chance to ruff the diamonds, because it really does not help you. And you may think this is quite odd, this hand, because you have a lot of trumps here. You have 6 trumps here. But if you keep ruffing your spades and your diamonds, you will eventually lose trump control, which is what happened, and you won't make as many tricks as you should make here. So how should it go? Well, you ruff the second spade, draw trumps just like before with the king and the ace, then leave that last trump out, and now I would just play the clubs. I would just force out the ace and king, and I'm just going to lose 2 club tricks plus that extra heart. So it's a good idea if they play the king here to actually unblock with the queen or jack. It's not a waste at all. It's just making sure you don't block the suit. If they play another spade, you can ruff that one, lead another club over to your queen. They take the ace. And the best that South can do here is to draw a round of trumps. Take 2 of your trumps, okay? But you've still got a trump there. So whatever they play now, you will win it with your last heart. And now your hand is good. You've got 2 clubs. You may as well cash them. And then you've got 2 diamonds. So there are some bridge hands that are quite hard to make, that require a bit of luck and things like that. But this really isn't one of them. It really just requires you to ignore the chances to ruff in the long hand and just draw trumps and then force out the ace and king of clubs. And everyone should have made 9 tricks on that one. So that was really the lesson I wanted to emphasize today. I've mentioned it many times in the past, but do not ruff in the long hand, in the hand with the long trumps, unless you have a reason for it. Now, there are reasons for it. There are reasons when you need to ruff in the long hand, but don't do it unless you have one of those good reasons. And the good reasons for ruffing in the hand with a long trump suit are things like when you want to cross ruff the hand completely, when you will gain more tricks there. Another is by that you will sometimes need to establish a long suit by ruffing 1 or more times. And a third one is that sometimes you need to ruff to get back to your hand. Okay, so there are some situations where you do want to ruff in the long hand, but unless you have one of those reasons, don't do it. It can lead to you running out of trumps or weakening your trump holding. But I thought I'd just show you a couple of examples where it does make sense to ruff in the long hand. And let's have a look at this one to start with. So do interrupt me if you have any questions on this, but let's have a look at this one where we open 2 hearts. There's a 2 spade overcall, and my partner raises me to 4 hearts. So we end up in a 4 heart contract. And let's stop by identifying how many losers we expect in each suit. How many spade losers have you got here?
2.
We seem to have 2 spade losers. Now, hearts we're not sure about. We've got 9 trump missing the queen, so we might lose a trick there, or we might not. Diamonds, well, we've got 1 in this hand, and there may be a chance to get rid of it by ruffing it, or they may. And clubs, we've got no club losers here, have we? So we've got the spade losers, we've got a diamond loser, which we could get rid of perhaps by ruffing. But the other thing we have on this hand is that long club suit in dummy. And whenever you have a long club suit in dummy, you may very often be able to make more tricks if you can establish it. If you think about it, we have 8 clubs between us and dummy. So if we can cash 2 clubs and then ruff a third round, that club suit becomes good. And that will actually provide us with more tricks than any other method. So that should be certainly one of your thoughts on this hand, trying to establish the clubs. So let's suppose we win that first trick with the ace. Now we might start off with hearts, and let's suppose we play the king and we play a second round, and we're lucky today that the hearts divide evenly. So we've drawn 2 rounds, that's 8 gone, and that's all the missing trumps are gone. So now our best chance here is to try to set up the clubs. And what we'll do is start by winning the king, winning in the shorthand, crossing over to the ace. And if you get a 3-2 distribution, the clubs, there's only just 1 club out. And this is an example of where it does make sense to ruff in the long hand, because it's going to help you establish the club suit. So that's what we're going to do on this one. We're going to, sorry, just a second. We're going to, just muting everyone, there's a bit of noise. We're just going to play another club, which we're going to ruff. Okay, and now the clubs are established. So now all we need to do is get back to dummy. You can get there with the ace of diamonds or even with a trump, and our clubs are good. So we can play all our clubs, and we actually can throw away all our losers, and we actually make all 13 tricks on this hand. So all it needed was a reasonable distribution in clubs and not a terrible distribution in hearts, and you can actually establish that suit. And I put this in as an example of a hand where it does make sense to ruff a club in the long hand because it's helping you establish that suit. Any questions on that? So just one last one then on ruffing, which hand to ruff in. And let's look at this one where you open 1 club, that's a suit below the singleton with 4-4-4-1 distribution. Your partner bids a diamond, you bid a heart, and your partner jumps to 4 hearts, and they lead the king of clubs. And I'd like you to think about how many potential losers you have. If you look at it from your own hand's point of view, how many losers have you got? How many spade losers have you got?
None.
None. How many heart losers?
None.
None. You've got no diamond losers, and your only losers are these 3 clubs. So your contract is certain here, but you want to make as many over tricks as you can by ruffing these clubs. Okay, you could actually look at this the other way round, and also look at it the other way around and ruff diamonds instead of ruffing clubs, but you can't really do both. On this hand, you make one hand the master hand, the hand you're going to aim at drawing trumps with, and you're going to use the other hand to ruff with. And that's what we're going to do on this hand. So they've led a club, which sort of helps us right away in that what we're going to do is win the ace of clubs. And because we want to ruff as many of those clubs as possible, we're going to not draw trumps yet. It would take 3 rounds to draw the opponent's trumps at least, and then we'd only have 1 trump left to do ruffing with. So we're not going to ruff. Instead, we're going to play a club straight back, which we're going to ruff low to start with. And then what we want to do on this hand is get back to our hand so that we can ruff again. Now we could do that maybe with the ace of spades, that's reasonably safe. Play another club, which we ruff. And again, we want to get back to our hand so we can ruff. Now, there are a couple of ways you might do this. And one of the ways you might do it is actually by playing the ace of diamonds and ruffing a diamond. Now, you didn't ruff a diamond here to gain any extra tricks. You ruffed a diamond just to get back to your hand. In other words, so that you can now lead your last club and ruff that one in dummy. And if you can get away with that, you'll have ruffed all your clubs, and now you just want to turn your attention to drawing the remaining trump. So let's cash the ace. We need to get back to our hand, and it's getting difficult, more and more difficult here. But if we don't get a terrible spade break, we can win that one, and we can now draw the last trump with our king and jack. And then at the end, we can make our last two spades. And actually, you can make 13 tricks on this hand with some sort of normal distribution, as long as if you're able to ruff those three clubs. If you're unlucky, you might get over ruffed and you might not make so many tricks. But the point of this hand, the reason I'm demonstrating it, is that you're still ruffing in one hand. You're using this hand to draw trumps with, and you're not ruffing in this hand except when you have to. We ruffed a diamond, if you remember, to get back to our hand, not to make another trick, but just so we can get back here and repeat the ruff. So that's one of the reasons that you can ruff in the master hand, but generally don't do it unless there's a specific reason for it. Unless you have a good reason for it, do not ruff, especially in the long hand.
Tony, can I just ask a question?
Yes, of course.
In that hand, why have you chosen the clubs rather than the diamonds?
Yeah, I mean, you could have done it.
Could you not equally be roughing the diamonds and throwing away the clubs?
You could do exactly that, yes.
Okay.
And the hands are, I mean, very often when you're playing a hand, you'll have more trumps in one hand than the other, and then it makes sense to ruff in the short hand. Here you've got equal trump length, and you can do it exactly the opposite way. You can ruff diamonds in this hand, and then and keep ruffing diamonds. But what you can't do on this hand is you can't really cross ruff the diamonds and the clubs. If you try to do that, you will exhaust yourself of trumps, and then you won't be able to cash your spades. You want to make 4 spade tricks here, and you won't make them if you're cross ruffing. So you really do need to draw the opponent's trumps and try and ruff only in one hand and keep the other hand for drawing trumps. And you can do it either way.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions on that? So really, this was the lesson here, which I see a lot of people, go wrong on, ruffing in the long hand for no good reason. If there's a good reason, that's fine, but unless it's going to gain you some extra tricks, or you need to get to that hand for some other reason, then do not ruff in the long hand. That's my motto for today. All right. Anyone got any questions on that? Do ask me if you have any.
No.
Okay. Well, if that's it, I hope you all followed that, and we will see you online at 7:30. So I'll just stop sharing my screen with you, and we'll end the call there. All right. So see you all later.
Thank you, Tony.
Okay. The game has opened up.
Bye.
So see you later. Bye, everyone.